Our next port of call is the city of Kota Kinabalu, the capital of the Sabah region of Malaysia in northern Borneo. A recent history of the city begins with the rebuilding of the town in 1899 under the direction of Charles Jessel and the British North Borneo Company. It was named Jesselton until 2000. The city was heavily damaged during World War II, with only the clock tower and 2 other buildings surviving, but is now a part of Malaysia and has become a modern city of over 500,000. As we approach the city, we pass tropical islands under calm seas. There are houses along the shore, but as we get closer, we see an entire village built on pilings out into the bay. They even have their own mosque under a rusted corrugated metal roof. A tugboat escorts our ship into harbor, and as we get closer, we get a better view of the city. Once we're on shore, we are greeted by locals wearing traditional outfits. We head out of town on a bus and note some interesting architecture along the way. Especially impressive is the new City Mosque, which can seat 12,000 worshippers. As we leave the city and climb up into the mountains, we pass suburban homes. These homes become smaller and more modest as we enter farther into the jungle. We have arrived at our destination, the Mauri Cultural Village, where we will learn about the Aboriginal tribes in Borneo. We will see their housing, their food, their crafts, and their dance. We're introduced to our 2 guides and are led across a rope bridge suspended over a stream and into the village. Chickens and their chicks wander freely, and we spot a young man and woman dressed in tribal attire. We arrive at a long house of the Doosan People, which is the largest tribe in Borneo. A single family lived in this house. Outside, a young woman was splitting wood for the fire. Inside, we watched a demonstration showing how this tribe made fire without matches. A piece of bamboo is rubbed with a metal blade to create sufficient frictional heat to create an ember, which is then gently blown on to promote the fire. We observed a demonstration of the blowpipe and learned how the dart is coated with snake venom, allowing it to be used as a weapon against animals or people. I got a chance to blow a dart at a coconut target and found that a steady aim is most important. Further down the trail, we came to a longhouse of the Runkis Tribe. Again, this was a house that was used by a single family. Our guide explains the function of the built-in trampoline.
In the center of the house, they have the traditional trampoline. We call it as a lansaran. And this one, lansaran, is made from timber. They cover it with rattan. And the spring, they use the jambu tree, a wild guava. Okay? Take a piece of the hair of the girl and they hang over there. Yeah? So the warrior need to jump, grab the hair, as well as the prize. So if they cannot, they will given one chance only once. Cannot grab the hair, cannot grab the prize, no prize for them and no marriage for them. Yeah? So if you want to get married, still want to, go outside, find another head.
We also saw a demonstration of painted tribal tattoos. I agreed to have one on my wrist. After the paint dried and was peeled off, the tattoo lasted for 3 days. We learned how rice wine is made by fermenting partially cooked rice using yeast with bitter and sweet additives and storing the liquid in jugs for 3 months to a year. Then we get a cooking demonstration where bamboo is used as the container to cook rice and other foods over an open fire. We are shown how honey is collected from black bees using hives made out of bamboo. Then we listen to our guide explain how clothing a young woman wears indicates her marital status.
When we want to determine whether she is single or not, just look at her sleeve part here. Long sleeve means she single, not married yet. Yeah? Oh. Short sleeve, married.
Next we were introduced to the Mauri tribe, shown in earlier times and today. This tribe from the interior of the island are known as the Headhunters, and were the last to give up headhunting. We learned how tree bark can be worked and softened to produce vests that are dart-proof and act as armor. In their longhouse we saw a colorful, finely decorated room that was used by newlyweds and for other special occasions. The last tribe we were introduced to was the Bachao. They are called the cowboys or seamen because they rode horses and obtained most of their food from the sea. To close the show, we saw a performance of traditional music and dance. Let's enjoy 2 excerpts. A quick bus ride back and we're on the pier ready to reboard our ship. The following day, heavy seas prevented us from stopping at Notre-Dame, so we continued on to our next stop, which was Ho Chi Minh City, Vietnam, also known as Saigon. We begin with a brief history of this city. Saigon's original name was Pre Nocor, which is believed to be a corruption of the words for royal city. It began as a fishing village in the 1st century, and through the Middle Ages was part of the Khmer Empire. In the 17th century, many Vietnamese came to Pre Nocor to escape a civil war, and eventually became the dominant population, changing the name of the city to Saigon. In 1698, it, along with the rest of the South, was absorbed into Vietnam. The French invaded Vietnam in 1859, creating a colony known as Indochina. In 1949, Ho Chi Minh started a revolution to regain control of the area. The French left in 1954, leaving the country divided into North and South Vietnam. Because of the larger worldwide struggle against communism, the USA got involved in the 1960s, but eventually gave up and left the country in 1975. Since then, all of Vietnam has been under the control of the communist government in Hanoi. Despite the enormous pain and anguish suffered during the war, here we are 4 decades later, cruising up the Saigon River, where we will dock during our visit to Ho Chi Minh City. On our starboard, we see Mount No, crowned with a 105-foot statue of Christ. The statue was completed in 1993, suggesting that there is some religious freedom in this communist country. The river is busy with ship traffic of all types and sizes, and there is extensive development along the riverbank. Still, large areas of wilderness remain. We rode a bus into the city and found it insightful that progress has been extensive in some areas, while in other areas little has changed. In some cases, the two exist side by side. Saigon is a city of motorcycles. There seems to be far more motorcycles and motor scooters than bicycles, trucks, and automobiles combined. Because of the expense and shortage of trucks, they are often not available, so motorcycles are used where trucks would be more appropriate to carry all sorts of things. Riders wearing a green jacket with Grab written on the back are taxis for hire who operate using a cell phone system similar to Uber. You click on the app on your phone and the Grab motorcycle is there in a few seconds to pick you up. Later we saw Uber motorcycle taxis wearing blue coats. Once we entered the older neighborhoods of the city, the appearance was like many of the older cities and towns in Asia. The streets were crowded with small stores and residences, with displays and supplies spilling out onto the street. At one intersection, we saw a woman shredding sugar cane to be sold on the street. This photo includes a soda bottle popped upside down on a stool. This indicates that the vendor sells gasoline by the liter illegally, and if you need gas for your motorcycle, someone will run inside and come back with a liter bottle that you can purchase. At our first stop, we exit the bus on a busy street and pass through a nondescript doorway into the open-air sea goddess temple, where the three dominant religions, Buddhism, Taoism, and Confucianism, are all practiced. Elaborate carvings create a busy mural around the upper wall. Incense is burned and tickets can be purchased to obtain religious indulgence. Next, we stopped at the Fong Lacquerware factory where Vietnamese lacquer paintings are made. Scenes are painted on wood boards and eggshells are used to create a mother-of-pearl effect. The process involves gluing pieces of eggshell to the wood and then using a scalpel to achieve the appearance of many finely cut pieces. These are painted, coated with lacquer, and polished through a series of applications to achieve their final appearance. We saw a group of men polishing and washing wine bottle holders. It was a back-breaking, labor-intensive job that could only be performed in a place where labor costs are low. Our next stop was to attend a performance of the Saigon water puppets. This ancient entertainment goes back to 1121 and the dynasty of King Lai Nan Tong. At that time, it was performed for the king to wish him long life. For more than 800 years, the puppetry has been part of Vietnamese folk art and part of the cultural activities of the royal court. The puppets are fastened to sticks held below the waterline, which are manipulated by a team of puppeteers behind the green bamboo mat. In the first scene, maidens perform a delicate choreographed dance. The second scene features 4 sacred animals. The turtle and the phoenix are joined by the dragon and the unicorn, who bring a frenzy of energy. Our last stop was the Notre-Dame Cathedral Basilica, and adjacent to it the old Central Post Office. These structures are remnants of the French influence during the years they occupied the country. The cathedral was completed in 1880 to provide a place of worship for the French citizens living in Saigon. All the materials for the church were imported from France, including the tile floors and the exquisite stained glass. The church continues to be used today by the Roman Catholic minority who live in the city. The Central Post Office was constructed in 1891 in a Gothic Renaissance architectural style. It is no longer used as a post office, but has been beautifully maintained as a tourist attraction. The features include the curved glass ceiling, a portrait of Ho Chi Minh at the far end. On the side are what appears to be phone booths, but they're now converted to ATM machines. Above on the side walls are two painted maps from 1892. One is titled Telegraph Lines of South Vietnam and Cambodia, and the other Saigon and its surroundings. We finish our visit to Ho Chi Minh City with a photo montage and a few observations. It's been 40 years since the end of the war, and progress is evident everywhere, but the healing is far from complete. When the war ended, the North did not conduct a mass slaughter, but they did kill some, imprison many, and implement their own brand of inefficient and often corrupt communism that has held the country back and caused great suffering. Decades later, most of the power continues to reside in Hanoi, and the people in the South continue to experience discrimination that they passively resist. The most obvious sign of this is that the locals still call the city Saigon. Eliminating these prejudices and merging the entire population to become one people will take generations, but the Vietnamese are a resilient, industrious people, and as long as further war can be avoided, life should continue to improve for everyone.